After the divorce, I completely disappeared from Gerald's world. No one believed that I would leave, and they all placed bets on how many days it would take for me to come back. Gerald also sneered disdainfully. Days. 3 minutes. Jade is a useless person. First, she can't make money. And second, she has no parents. If I give her a call, she'll come crawling back like a dog. Later, Gerald called me countless times, but I didn't answer any of them. He panicked and searched for me like a madman. 3 years later, I attended a banquet holding my daughter and happened to meet him. The person who was always proud suddenly had red eyes. He grabbed me tightly and asked in a trembling voice, "Is it mine?" Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. After the divorce, Gerald changed the password of the main door, and I still had some things to pick up. As soon as I found him, I saw this scene. In the private room, his friends in the circle were placing bets on how many days I would come back. Gerald sneered disdainfully. Days. 3 minutes. Jade is a useless person. First, she can't make money. And second, she has no parents. If I give her a call, she'll come crawling back like a dog. Then, he took off the wristwatch on his wrist and casually threw it on the table. His tone determined. It won't be long before she begs me to remarry her. There are actually people who bet that she won't turn back. Heh, they overestimate Jade. She can't live without me at all. There was a cheer from the crowd, and his brother Harvey asked, "Don't you have the intention of remarrying? Jade has liked you for so long. Don't be impulsive." Before Gerald could answer, someone preempted him and said, "How is that possible? Gerald doesn't like Jade at all. It's her who's been pestering Gerald shamelessly. She doesn't have a good figure and isn't good looking either. Her parents died 2 years ago. Now, how can she be worthy of Gerald? Even if she kneels down and begs Gerald, Gerald won't remarry her. What's more," he glanced teasingly at Lillian who was sitting beside Gerald. "The white moonlight has come back. What is Jade compared to that?" The thin and dense laughter pierced my heart. I pinched my palm tightly and tried my best to stay calm. After getting married, I once asked Gerald about the white moonlight. At that time, he smiled casually and only said, "It's all in the past. The present is the most important." I didn't ask any more questions and didn't take this matter to heart, until Lillian returned to the country half a year ago, and Gerald held a welcome banquet for her. That night, he didn't come home for the first time overnight. Then, there was a second time, a third time, countless times. The people in the private room were chatting noisily. There was a smile on Gerald's lips. He listened casually with a relaxed posture and occasionally said a few words, but he never denied anything. Seeing this, Lillian said coquettishly, "You guys are so bad. How can you speak ill of a girl behind her back? What's more, Jade didn't do anything wrong. She just loves Gerald too much. It's a pity. Gerald likes me. After all these years, I didn't expect that he's still waiting for me." Her cheeks were slightly red, and her eyes looking at Gerald were full of affection. Gerald was also moved. "I married Jade only because my family liked her. I've been waiting for someone." Everyone knew clearly who this person was. The heart that had been hanging finally died. All along, I always felt that Gerald was a bit cold towards me, but I couldn't find anything wrong. He would always remember my birthday and our wedding anniversary and send me gifts. Every time we quarreled and I got angry, he would be the first to apologize and coax me. I thought he loved me, but I didn't expect that it was because he didn't love me. After 5 years of marriage, he had been acting. It turned out that it was me who had been wishful thinking. My heart was completely broken. I released my hand that was full of fingerprint marks and turned around to leave. But I was stopped by Harvey who came out to use the restroom. "Jade, why didn't you say something when you came? Come in and take a seat." I shook my head and refused. "No, it's not appropriate." "Why isn't it appropriate?" Gerald came out of the private room when he heard the sound. He put his hands in his pockets and looked down on me. "Aren't you here to find me? Why are you leaving without saying anything?" Compared with his calmness, I had tears all over my face and looked really embarrassed. Love is always like this. Those who are favored have nothing to fear. So he could hurt me without scruple, regardless of my dignity. The people in the private room gradually came out, and their gazes landed on me with ill intentions, especially Lillian, who pitted me with a victorious attitude and a superior look. "Gerald, you just divorced Jade. Don't be so harsh on her. She must be sad about being abandoned. Talk to her nicely." Gerald replied indulgently. "Okay." The crowd laughed. I suddenly regretted coming to find Gerald today. Wiping the tears off my face, I cleared my throat. Gerald changed the password at home. I still had some things to pick up, so I came to find him. Now it's not necessary. I don't want them anymore. Sorry for the interruption. Goodbye. Don't go. Lillian stepped forward and affectionately took my arm. Gerald still has something to say. After all, you were husband and wife. Although he likes me, now that you're here, some things should still be made clear. Oh, right. You don't like Gerald anymore, do you? I was still a bit confused about the situation and didn't understand why she was doing this, until she said with a smile, after the divorce, you can't pester Gerald anymore. I'll be jealous. Jade, you won't ruin the relationship between us, will you? Lillian had always been a snake in the grass. I was so angry that I shook her off. She reversed the situation. Clearly, Gerald and I got married first. It was she who crossed the line and took Gerald away without any sense of propriety. Now she was coming to persuade me not to pester Gerald. Stop talking nonsense. Before I could finish my words, Lillian fell heavily to the ground. I was stunned and looked at the palm of my hand. I clearly didn't use much force. Jade, what are you doing? Gerald's furious voice sounded. He rushed forward and pushed me aside, then squatted beside Lillian. I was pushed and stumbled backward a few steps. I missed my step and rolled down the stairs. After a complete tumble, my eyes were dizzy, and my whole body ached. At this time, Gerald came downstairs holding Lillian. His eyes were cold. Those who do evil will surely come to no good. To bully Lillian, you've really done everything. Now you're even using the trick of feigning injury. Jade, we're already divorced. If you still have any sense of shame, don't come and bother me again in the future. Lillian had red eyes and said softly, Gerald, it's okay. Jade is angry that I took you away, so she's like this. As she spoke, Lillian started crying again. Gerald felt sorry for her, and there was an extra trace of disgust in his eyes when he looked at me. Even the friends around him frowned. With just a few words, Lillian successfully made everyone hate me. But I didn't have the time to care about that. My stomach hurt terribly. I stretched out my hand and barely grabbed the hem of Gerald's pants. Gerald, my stomach hurts. Take me to the hospital. Call an ambulance. Gerald was moved. He frowned and asked, your stomach hurts. Where did you fall? Oh, it hurts. Gerald, my ankle hurts. Whoa. Gerald, will it affect my dancing? Suddenly, Lillian sobbed, drawing Gerald's attention away. Gerald immediately changed his expression and said nervously, no, it won't. I'll take you to the hospital right away. What about me? I held onto the hem of his pants tightly, longing for him to turn around and look at me. But Gerald forcefully shook me off. He left in a hurry, holding Lillian. I looked at his back with blurry eyes and murmured, Gerald, I hate you. Before Lillian returned to the country, there were no problems in my relationship with Gerald. When he didn't come home overnight, he gave the reason that the company was busy. I showed my understanding and advised him to take care of his health. Until one day, I called Gerald, but it was a gentle female voice that answered the phone. She said, hello, are you Gerald's nanny? Sorry, he drank too much and is at my place now. Could you please bring some hangover soup and come to pick him up? My heart suddenly ached. I had never encountered such a thing before and didn't know how to react. The angel and the devil in my heart were at war. One told me to trust Gerald. The other told me that Gerald had done something to betray me. In the end, I still took the hangover soup and went to the place she mentioned. The door wasn't closed. I pushed it gently, and it opened. After seeing the scene inside the house clearly, I stood there stunned. Gerald was lying in Lillian's arms, holding her hand and murmuring continuously, Lillian, you're back. You're finally back. I've been waiting for you for so long. You're finally back. All these years, I thought I had forgotten you. But when I saw you for the first time, I realized that I still like you. Lillian was a bit sad. Don't talk nonsense. Gerald, you're already married. Our relationship is already in the past. She even choked up a bit when she said the last part. Gerald felt sorry for her. He wiped away Lillian's tears and said seriously, it doesn't matter. I can get a divorce and marry you. As long as you agree, I'll get a divorce right away. The two of them poured out their hearts to each other, making me look like the villain who was breaking up a loving couple. But I had never known that Gerald still liked Lillian. Clearly, when we got married, he said it was all in the past. I was so stupid, being deceived round and round. When I opened my eyes, Tears slid down the corners of my eyes. Mom and Dad, I miss you. My stomach was burning with hunger. I picked up my phone and saw that it was 8:15 p.m. I had slept for a whole day. During this time, no one came to see me, and no one came to comfort me. I opened my phone, and Lillian had sent a series of photos. They were all of Gerald. In the video, Lillian said understandingly, "Why don't you go and see Jade? She seems to be injured too." Gerald's smiling face immediately fell, as if someone owed him millions of dollars. He scooped up the porridge in the bowl impatiently and fed it to Lillian. Why mention her? What bad luck. Such a vicious woman. I regret marrying her. Lillian, you're just too kind. My heart ached dully. The wounds Gerald had inflicted on me hadn't fully healed yet. I got out of bed and stumbled to go through the discharge procedures, and then left the hospital resolutely. I got a new card and called my grandparents. After learning that I had divorced, my grandmother cried on the spot. She said with heartache, "My child, come back to Grandma's side." I replied, "Okay." My uncle had emigrated to country M earlier, in order to take care of the newly born little nephew conveniently. My grandparents had also gone there. Over the years, they had been living abroad. I packed my luggage and bought a plane ticket. I left North City without hesitation and didn't look back. When I was about to board the plane, Gerald's face suddenly flashed in my mind. I smiled self-deprecatingly. If that group of people knew that I had left, they would surely be very happy. At that time, in the hospital, Gerald frowned when he saw the empty ward. He grabbed a passing nurse and asked, "Where has the patient in bed 23 gone?" "Her name is Jade." The nurse frowned and thought for a while. "Oh, she was discharged from the hospital. She left the hospital on the 3rd day of her hospitalization." "Who are you?" She looked Gerald up and down and asked, "Are you her relative?" "I'm her husband." As soon as the words came out, Gerald realized that he had said the wrong thing. He originally wanted to correct himself, but the nurse's next words stopped him. "Then you're really irresponsible. Jade was pregnant when she was brought here. She didn't keep the baby, and there wasn't even anyone to take care of her during her hospitalization. She should have rested more after the miscarriage, but she was discharged from the hospital on the 3rd day. Take good care of her when you go back. Tell her to pay more attention to her health." After saying that, the nurse left. Gerald stood there stunned. Miscarriage. Jade was actually pregnant. For such a big thing, why didn't she tell him? Thinking of this, he quickly called Jade. "Sorry, the number you dialed is powered off." Over and over again, he kept dialing, but he still couldn't get through. Gerald stomped his feet in a rage. "Damn it. Answer the phone." The phone didn't get through for a long time. Gerald had no choice but to search for Jade everywhere like a headless chicken. She wasn't at home. She wasn't at the Humberts. He searched all the places that Jade used to like to go, but he couldn't find her. In addition, he contacted each of Jade's former friends one by one and asked if they had any news about Jade. The result was that none of them had any news. No one could get in touch with Jade. She seemed to have disappeared out of thin air. Harvey said cautiously, "Jade is vulnerable. Could she have done something stupid?" Panic filled Gerald's heart. He roared and denied it. No. How could Jade do something stupid? But the more he thought about it, the more panicked he became. When Jade's parents died in a car accident, Jade had once suffered from depression. There was a possibility. At this time, there was a sound at the door. Hope ignited in Gerald's eyes. "Jade, Jade, are you back?" He rushed forward eagerly, but he saw Lillian instead. Then he lowered his eyes in disappointment. "It's not her. It's not her." Lillian looked at Gerald's appearance and was so angry that her teeth itched. "Aren't you divorced from her? What does it matter to you whether she's alive or dead?" Gerald didn't answer. He originally thought that Jade wasn't important, but after she disappeared, he kind of missed her. 3 years later, I got married in Country M and had a lovely daughter. She is now nearly 2 years old. My husband's childhood friend in the country was getting married, so the 3 of us took a plane back to North City. After getting off the plane, he sent me and our daughter home. Then he rushed to take a shower and have a meal. Preparing to deal with his work, I pretended to be angry and held our daughter, saying, "Is work more important or family more important? You only know how to be busy. Have you accompanied Margaret and me properly today?" Jeremy smiled, held up my face, and kissed me on the center of my forehead. Then he picked up our daughter from my arms. "Honey, I'll have time to accompany you and our daughter after these 2 busy days. I promise." He is a workaholic. He loves his career, our small family, and me and our daughter. He is very good at balancing his career and family, and I understand that. Now I'm just being a bit spoiled and want him to accompany me to stroll around North City. Okay, you can go. Have a safe journey. Okay, I'll be back late today. Don't wait for me. The afternoon was really boring, so I went out for a stroll with my daughter and ate at a restaurant that I used to like very much. But I didn't expect to meet Harvey here. My daughter was crying and fussing, so I could only nod at him as a greeting and then picked up my daughter and went home. Behind me, Harvey scratched his head. Jade isn't dead. No, I have to call Gerald. Hello, Gerald. I just saw Jade. Gerald gave a self-deprecating laugh. Stop teasing me. She's been dead for a long time. Harvey became anxious. No, I really saw her. She was holding a little girl in her arms. How could she not come to find me if she's alive? Besides, I've been looking for her for 3 years and haven't heard anything from her. Goodbye, Gerald retorted and hung up the phone dejectedly. He took a sip of wine. He really wanted to see Jade again. Early the next morning, Jeremy and I, holding our daughter, came to the wedding scene together to send our gifts and blessings. After that, my husband was pulled away by the groom to learn some experiences, and I, holding my daughter, stayed in the bride's room. People came and went around. The bridesmaids saw that I was tired from holding the baby, so they took turns playing with Margaret. Even the bride came over after she finished getting her makeup done. Wow, Margaret is so pretty. She has such a good temperament too. Auntie wants to hold you. Come on, let me hold you and hope to have a daughter just like you in the future. I was amused. Margaret stared blankly at the bride, then suddenly burst into laughter, wriggled in the bride's arms, and babbled something. As it was getting close to the bride's turn to go on stage, more and more people were in the room. Margaret was a bit fussy, afraid that she would cry. I took her out to get some fresh air. Jade. In the corridor, I heard someone calling me. I looked back and saw a large crowd. I didn't know who it was, so I continued to walk forward holding Margaret, until someone grabbed my shoulder. Jade. I turned around and met Gerald's gaze. He had lost a lot of weight. At this moment, he stared at me with red eyes, his voice excited. You're not dead. Then why didn't you come back? Where have you been for these 3 years? After saying that, he looked at the daughter in my arms. The fingers pinching me suddenly tightened. He asked in a trembling voice, "Is she mine?" The past memories emerged in my mind again, and it felt like a lifetime ago. Gerald's expression was very complex. Sadness, excitement, shock, and joy. I studied his expression carefully and found it novel. In the past, Gerald had always been confident and in control, like a superior, rationally and soberly handling everything between him and me. But now, his eyes were red, and he had lost his judgment. I pushed his hand away, being polite and distant. No, long time no see. Gerald, I'm already married. Please don't pull and tug at me in public. After saying that, I took a step back holding my daughter. Sensing my cold behavior, Gerald's face froze, and he gave a bitter smile. There's no need to lie. Jade, you left without saying a word back then, making it impossible for anyone to find you. Weren't you just taking revenge on me? I've been looking for you for 3 years. Are you satisfied? Is this the child from that time? The nurse told me that you had a miscarriage, but I never believed it. How could you bear to abort our child? Since you're back, let's live a good life with the child from now on. He looked at Margaret gently, his eyes full of love, mentioning the lost child. My heart ached dully. At the same time, I was shocked by Gerald's cheekiness. He thought Margaret was his daughter. He thought that I had cut off all contact with everyone in the country and gone abroad as a way to take revenge on him. How could that be? Even now, Gerald still thought that I was the same Jade who had loved him deeply. Gerald. I had a cold expression and growled at him, bluntly saying, "Are you deaf?" I said the child isn't yours. I'm already married, and Margaret is my daughter with my husband. If you're sick, go and see a doctor. Don't talk nonsense here. After hearing this, Gerald was stunned for a moment. Taking this opportunity, I turned around and left, but he chased after me. How could that be? Jade, explain it clearly. Are you really married? Before I could answer, Jeremy appeared from behind. He put one arm around my shoulder, protecting me and our daughter in his arms, and pushed Gerald away with the other hand. The atmosphere around him was cold and heavy. Stay away from my wife and child. Gerald impatiently shook him off, his eyes red with anxiety. Who are you? What are you doing? That's my wife and child. Slap. I couldn't bear it anymore and slapped Gerald across the face. He seemed to have gone crazy and couldn't listen to anything, just focusing on what he had in mind. After being slapped, Gerald finally quieted down. His face turned to one side, and he looked back at me in disbelief, with a hint of hurt in his eyes. You hit me. I waved my numb hand and handed our daughter to Jeremy. I said seriously, I'll say it again. Gerald, I'm already married, and the person beside me is my husband. Our child is 1 year and 8 months old and has nothing to do with you. Please don't talk nonsense anymore and don't bother my life again. As soon as the wedding banquet ended, Jeremy and I went home. All the way, the atmosphere was very tense. I silently looked at Jeremy's expressionless face. I wanted to speak several times but didn't know what to say. Until we got home, he pressed me against the door. An eager and passionate kiss landed on me, and I was forced to accept it. Soft sobs escaped from my mouth. I grabbed Jeremy's wandering hand and explained breathlessly. There's nothing between me and him. I know. Really, there's nothing. I can tell you everything. Jeremy paused for a moment, propped himself up, and tugged at his tie. His voice was hoarse. No need to say. Next. Enjoy it well. I fell asleep in a daze. When I woke up, it was already the next morning. I rubbed my disheveled hair, got up, and went downstairs. I happened to see Jeremy feeding our daughter complimentary food. Margaret didn't like to eat it very much and kept spitting it out while eating. Jeremy patiently coaxed her and carefully wiped away the food she spat out. This scene had once appeared in my fantasies. At that time, I married Gerald with longing and anticipation for love. 3 years ago, my dream was shattered. I thought my life would be like that from then on. But I didn't expect to meet Jeremy. He was my uncle's friend. When I first arrived in Country M, my uncle was too busy and asked him to pick me up. I was in a bad mood that day. On the plane, I dreamed of a little girl. I couldn't see her face clearly, and she had 2 ponytails. She said to me, Mom and Dad don't love each other anymore. Mom, I'll come to find you next time. I started crying as soon as I landed and cried all the way. Jeremy didn't say a word. He handed me tissues while driving. Then, he told my uncle and grandmother about this. Seeing that I was gloomy all day long, my uncle tried to match me with him. I didn't have the intention at first, but my uncle said, Are you going to stay unmarried for the rest of your life? Gerald is a scumbag. But that doesn't mean all men are bad. He lowered his voice. Jade, listen to me. The wounds you suffered from that man can only be healed by another man. Although Jeremy is a bit older, he knows how to take care of people. You should get in touch with him and don't keep being stuck in the past. After saying that, he smiled meaningfully. I was a bit stunned and always felt that there was something behind his words. So, half reluctantly, I accidentally found that the silent Jeremy seemed to be more suitable for me than Gerald. Then we confirmed our relationship. He proposed, and we got married. On the wedding day, my uncle was drunk and held my hand. You're so confused. I asked you to get rid of your heartbreak, not to get yourself involved again. I looked at Jeremy beside me and smiled awkwardly. Jeremy's black eyes flashed, and he curved his lips and helped my uncle up. Uncle, I promise I'll treat Jade well. Gerald somehow got my phone number. When I received his call, I wasn't prepared at all. Hello, may I ask who you are? There was silence on the other end. This is Gerald. I hung up the phone without hesitation. Next, he kept calling me one after another, and I was a bit annoyed. What on earth do you want? Gerald's tone was close to pleading. I don't want anything. I just want to talk to you. Jade, where have you been all these years? I miss you very much. Since you left, I can't forget you. Now I'm still living in the house where we used to live. I'm trapped in the past. Come back. Jade. I always felt that these words were somewhat familiar. After thinking about it carefully, when Lillian returned to the country, he had said the same thing to her. It's just a copy-paste. Gerald's love seems a bit cheap. I gave a cold snort. If you're sick, go and see a doctor. If you leave your delusion untreated for too long, it will turn into mental illness. I'm very happy now. Please don't bother me anymore. Have you forgotten the words you said when we got divorced? Gerald choked for a moment. He asked softly, Are you really married to him? Yes. When? 2 years ago. 2 years. Heh. Gerald laughed self-deprecatingly. I've been desperately looking for you in the country for 3 years. As a result, you forgot about me in less than a year, re-established a family, got married, and had a child, leaving me alone in pain. Jade. The voice on the other end of the phone suddenly became excited. And he accused me. Are you really that heartless? I've been looking for you for 3 whole years. 3 years. Every day I live in longing. And every day I'm filled with fear. Guilt almost overwhelms me. I thought that you might have done something stupid. When you appeared in front of me again, at that moment, I was overjoyed. I finally saw you again. But you're actually married and have a child. Now you're living a happy life. What about me, Jade? What should I do? How can you expect me not to bother you? I was silent for half a minute. Fate is really unpredictable. Back then, I was in the abyss and finally climbed out after going through a lot of hardships. Now, the person who pushed me into the abyss is at the bottom of the abyss, humbly begging me to pull him up. I sighed and hung up the phone without saying a word. I was a bit bothered. I sent a message to Jeremy. When you're done with your work, let's go home. He replied quickly. Okay. After I hung up the phone, Gerald bombarded me with a series of messages. He even chased me downstairs to my house. Looking at his stubborn figure, I sighed. It wouldn't be good if Jeremy saw him. So I decided to invite him to a nearby coffee shop to have a talk. Gerald left before me. When I arrived, I only saw Lillian. She sat there with an indignant expression. When she saw me, she said bluntly, Jade, you really are a nuisance that won't go away. Her gaze scanned me up and down like a scanner, probably seeing that my clothes and appearance were very expensive. Lillian sneered. You're really scheming. Back then, you couldn't compete with me, so you faked your death and went abroad. You made Gerald keep thinking about you all these years. I thought you were so innocent. I was so angry that I laughed. Back then, I went through a lot to get a divorce because of her. Now, how could she have the nerve to accuse me haughtily? Lillian, I'm already married. You don't have to be so hostile towards me anymore. Where's Gerald? She narrowed her eyes as if thinking. Then her eyebrows furrowed. Who knows if you deliberately found someone to make Gerald angry? Holding a child. You deliberately appeared in a place where Gerald would be. And after attracting his attention, you pretended to be aloof. Aren't you taking revenge? Is that child really Gerald's? My face turned cold. Lillian had used this trick 3 years ago. At that time, she found a male best friend from somewhere, and they had close contact, making Gerald jealous frequently. In the end, Gerald couldn't stand it and left marks on her body as if to assert his sovereignty. Those bright red hickeys. People with a dirty heart see everything as dirty. I sneered and said, not all men are that desirable. I don't care about a piece of trash like Gerald at all. You don't have to be so defensive against me either. You overestimate Gerald. Jade. A broken voice came from behind. I turned around and saw Gerald, who had appeared at some point. He had changed his outfit. His hair was neatly combed back, and the wrinkles on his suit had been ironed out. It seemed that he had dressed up solemnly, but his face was extremely pale. He looked a bit pitiful. Just as I was about to speak, my wrist was suddenly grabbed by Lillian. Her eyes instantly turned red, and she cried, saying, Jade, Jade, please give Gerald to me. He and I have been in love for several years. If it weren't for you, we should have gotten married long ago. We're already engaged. And we're getting married on the 18th of next month. Why couldn't you come back at any other time? But you had to come now. I know you hate me, but I have no choice. Because I'm pregnant. And this is my first child with Gerald. Please, for the sake of the child, give him to me. The coffee shop was very quiet. Lillian's wail attracted everyone's attention. I frowned deeply, not understanding what she was up to. The next second, she grabbed my hand, let out a scream, and fell backward. It was the same old trick, but this time, I caught her. The scream stopped abruptly. A trace of panic flashed across Lillian's face, and she started struggling, running out of patience. I let go of my hand and kicked her hard on the calf. I roared, I've already said that anyone who wants this piece of trash can have him. Stop bothering me. Lillian winced in pain and lost her balance, falling to the ground like a frog. She hunched over, covering her stomach with both hands, and looked at Gerald pitifully. Gerald, it hurts. This is our child. Gerald took a step forward, but he only protected me. He said coldly, you used this trick to make me lose a child 3 years ago. Now I can't make the same mistake again. Stop pretending. Lillian, I always took precautions every time. Let's go. Lillian behind us widened her eyes in disbelief. She seemed not to expect Gerald to be so heartless and shouted in despair. Gerald, you can't treat me like this. Gerald, I've given everything for you. You can't treat me like this. Gerald. The scream was so miserable that I looked back. Lillian had tears all over her face at this moment. She no longer had her usual delicate and calm appearance. She was lying on the ground without any dignity. A sense of mockery welled up in my heart. Those who do many wrongs will bring about their own ruin. The boomerang from 3 years ago had now hit Lillian hard. Outside the coffee shop, Gerald's hand hanging by his side curled up slightly. "Why didn't you tell me about your pregnancy? If you had told me at that time, maybe we wouldn't have gotten a divorce. We would still have had a chance." These words made me laugh. What chance? Seeing me laugh, Gerald was a bit at a loss. He retorted in a low voice, "I'm the father of the child. At least I have the right to know. You don't deserve to be the father of the child." When he learned about the existence of that child, he had already left. During that time, I was disheartened, and Gerald and I were in a cold war. The last time we were intimate, Gerald was drunk. He came back to the room, hugged me, and murmured, "Baby, I was wrong. Don't ignore me. We'll live a good life in the future. A good life." My cold and hard heart softened for a moment. I thought that the relationship between us might get better, until I saw the hickey on Lillian's neck that night. Then I realized that Gerald was just jealous. He had nowhere to vent his emotions, so he came back to me. At that moment, my heart was filled with mixed feelings. It was also from then on that I no longer wavered and firmly decided to get a divorce. But I didn't expect that I was pregnant. 3 years ago, on the night I went to you to get the key and move my things, you pushed me down the stairs for Lillian. That's when I lost the child. I was so dazed from the fall, and my stomach was cramping. I grabbed the hem of your pants and begged you to take me to the hospital. What about you? Lillian had a pain in her foot, and you carried her away in a hurry. At that time, you only cared about whether her foot injury would affect her dancing in the future. Did you ever think about what would happen to me? In the end, it was a passerby who called 120 for me. Gerald's face turned deathly pale, and he suddenly lowered his head. His eyes blinked nervously, and his lips quivered, but he couldn't say a word. Finally, he raised his head with red eyes. "I'm sorry, Jade. I didn't know you were pregnant. I didn't know." The words were too pale and powerless. No matter what he said, he couldn't save a lost life. So in the end, Gerald also closed his mouth. It was probably for the best that the child was gone. According to his obsession with Lillian at that time, even if he knew I was pregnant, he would have thought that I was using the child to attract his attention. A child growing up in such an unhealthy parental relationship wouldn't be happy either. It's all in the past, and it doesn't matter anymore. Gerald, you're not a qualified husband, and you don't deserve to be the father of a child. My current husband is much more competent than you. If there's nothing else, let's end it here. Don't bother my life anymore in the future. There was still reluctance in Gerald's eyes, but he had no reason to stop me. He could only watch me leave. After walking 2 steps, I turned around again and looked at him firmly. Hope rose in Gerald's eyes. I smiled with relief. "I will never forgive you, Gerald. We'll never see each other again in the future." That was the last word of farewell. Gerald's last words came with the wind. "Jade, I wish you happiness. I will be happy." When I got home, Jeremy had already gotten off work. He was playing with Margaret on the carpet. When I entered the house, he only looked up once, didn't say anything, and lowered his eyes. He somehow looked a bit aggrieved. Margaret immediately beamed with joy when she saw me, stretched out her hands, and called for Mom. I walked over, picked her up, and sat down beside him. "What's wrong? Are you angry?" Jeremy shook his head. "No." He paused and said seriously, "Jade, we're already married. I'm your husband. You can tell me anything that's on your mind." Jeremy was rarely this serious. In my memory, one time was when he was teaching our daughter a lesson for doing something wrong. The other time was during my confinement period. One night, I secretly went to the nursery to see the baby without waking him up, and I immediately understood. Jeremy was a bit angry. He was angry that I went to see Gerald alone. I handed the child to the nanny. I snuggled into Jeremy's arms. "Don't be angry, baby. I went to see him today to make things clear. I didn't expect him to be so persistent and keep bothering us. I didn't tell you because you were at work, and I thought I could handle it myself. It's all sorted out now, and he won't appear in front of me again in the future." After coaxing him for a while, Jeremy's expression improved a bit. I knew he minded the existence of Gerald, so I said straightforwardly, "Do you want to hear about my past with Gerald?" Jeremy only knew that I had been married once and was hurt in that relationship, but he didn't know exactly what had happened. He was a very gentlemanly person. Regarding my affairs, If I didn't say anything, he wouldn't ask on his own initiative. And after I arrived in Country M, I had been deliberately avoiding that relationship. Later, when I was happy, I really didn't think about it anymore. I cherished my relationship with Jeremy very much and didn't want any rift to occur between us because of this. After listening, Jeremy was uncharacteristically silent for a long time. Anger burned in his eyes. He cursed. Shit. He's really a big scumbag. I laughed and fell into his arms. Yeah, he was really a big scumbag. After finishing the things in the country, Jeremy booked the return tickets. Before we left, Jeremy's friend held a farewell dinner for us. Nina, the bride at the wedding banquet, looked at me with sympathy in her eyes. She patted my hand comfortingly and advised, "How are you feeling recently? Haven't been affected, have you?" I was stunned and looked confused. What happened? Nina was a bit embarrassed. She realized she had said the wrong thing and withdrew her hand awkwardly. I turned to look at Jeremy, and he smiled faintly. "It's nothing. It's not worth mentioning. If you want to know, you can talk to Nina." That's when I learned. Lillian had put me on the internet 2 days ago and spread rumors that I was the mistress, packaging herself as the innocent original partner who was cheated on and hurt. The video was exactly the scene in the coffee shop. It was simply ridiculous. Don't be angry. Jeremy is already dealing with it. Lillian can't cause much trouble. He has already sued Lillian, and I'm the lawyer he entrusted. Don't worry. I have rich experience in this area. I became famous in one case before, and this time I'll try my best to send her to prison. Nina was full of enthusiasm, and I was amused by her. My gloomy mood turned sunny. Okay, then I'll have to trouble lawyer Nina. After talking about the serious matter, she chatted with me about gossip. I learned from her. Gerald had indeed been looking for me for 3 years. He once thought that I had committed suicide by jumping into the river. He even hired a salvage team to search for my body by the river, just because the last image in the surveillance was me walking towards the river. Hee hee. What a show of false affection. Wasn't it him who forced me to leave in the first place? Moreover, I hadn't hidden my flight ticket information. Logically speaking, he shouldn't have been unable to find out. It's just that he stubbornly thought that I wouldn't leave him. So he didn't even consider this possibility. 2 months later, I received a message from Nina. She had won a complete victory and sent Lillian to prison, although it was only for a month of detention. As soon as Lillian went in, I spent money to find marketing accounts and spread the news. Now, let her taste the taste of gossip. Putting down my phone, I picked up my coat and prepared to go out to send my daughter to the early education class. But in the car, I saw Gerald's figure again. He seemed to have gone crazy. He followed me abroad and always stayed near my house. I knew he was trying to make amends. However, there is no medicine for regret in the world. We should all look forward. The end.